Welcome to April's monthly crafting journal. This month there was a week or so where I didn't do very much crafting at all because unfortunately both me and my spouse came down with COVID. We were due to go on holiday that week for our first anniversary since we got married, but COVID had other ideas. I didn't do as much crafting as I could have done because I just didn't feel like doing anything while I was ill, and that's an indication that I was incredibly ill because I didn't want to do any crafting or anything. So the first item is the crochet overdress, which I started in March and then I finished in April. This took me a lot longer to do than I would have liked, just purely because the body of the dress took so long to do, because it had to be long and wide in order to go to the floor and also go around me. It didn't quite go as I had envisioned at first. Like, I would like to have a bit more volume in the skirt, so I think I needed to do more increases and have a lot more volume in the skirt just to get that kind of the drape that I wanted from it. But it doesn't look too bad. It looks quite nice. The sleeves are a little bit too long, so I have amended my notes, so if I make this again or even just make the shrug part again, I will have a sort of perfectly lengthed arm, because the first one I did had slightly too short of an arm. This one's got slightly too long, so if I hit somewhere in the middle I'll know that I've got the right sized arm. As I've said here, it is based on the Wastelander shrug, which is a pattern that I purchased from Handmade by Lauren Lewis. Super simple pattern, really nice and easy. I do suggest checking it out if you want to make something like this. Like, this is that Wastelander pattern and I just extended the body and then made increases. So the first thing that I made in April was a project bag, which I made out of a t-shirt. So a friend of mine is in this band, Eden Weintim Grab. They're based in Germany, and they've released an album recently. So I bought the fan pack, which has like the CD, some postcards and a t-shirt in it. But because the t-shirt sizes don't quite go big enough to accommodate myself, and my other half isn't really into wearing band t-shirts, I decided to make the t-shirt into a bag, and it's nice and spacious, it's nice and lightweight, and it works really well. So I will do that in the future if I get more t-shirts that either don't fit myself or my other half doesn't want to wear, make them into bags, because they're really handy. The next thing that I made is a floor cushion. So this took me a while to do because while I was ill I didn't work on it at all, but it's basically just a big squishy cushion for me to put my feet on while I'm sitting in my armchair, because I find that I like to have my feet slightly higher up, but I don't have like a footrest or anything. In order to use up a lot of the yarn that I have and also scraps and things that I've collected over time, I made a floor cushion. So I doubled up the strands of the yarn so that it would work up a bit faster. It still took quite a while even so, and the inside is stuffed with various different things from my offcuts bag. I've got a large bag which has basically any bits of yarn that have been cut off from previous projects, offcuts of material. There's also sort of abandoned projects that I started, didn't finish, but looking at them I couldn't tell maybe what my original idea was, and I didn't want to sort of unravel it to re-roll it up, so it's various different bits and bobs that went into it, and it's good comfy cushion. I use it most days. I don't use it every single day, just when I want that sort of extra height under my feet. I would definitely make this again if I end up with a lot more yarn that I need to use up again, and I've got plenty of stuffing left in my bag of offcuts and things because I've been saving them up for quite a while, so I've accumulated quite a lot so far. The next thing that I started is a scarf. So this is going to be given away on my Instagram once it's finished. I've not finished it yet because I've had other things that I've been working on. So I'm hoping that this will be the next thing that I finish. And once it's done, it'll be up on Instagram. So if you'd like a free scarf, keep an eye on my Instagram. The next thing that I made was a sock. And this is, as most of my socks are at the moment, using Socky Kookaburra yarn. It's in the colour Rainbow Bridge. And as you can see, it seemed to take me a very long time to make this sock Usually I can get them done in a couple of days. The reason this took so long is because between starting and finishing it is when I had COVID. So I put it down for quite a while without actually working on it. My note here is incorrect because it says that I've changed the heel, but actually the heel on this I kept the same. So I'm just going to cross that out. You'll see in later ones that I have changed the heel on them. So the next thing I made was another sock, and this is the one where I have changed the heel. Again, I've put the wrong notes there. So usually with the heel, what I do is I have like a kind of, it's like a honeycomb kind of pattern, and it is a bit complicated and it does slow down the process of the sock being made. So I thought if I change the heel slightly, it will still function exactly the same, it just won't look as fancy. So these socks are just for myself and I like to get them done quickly, so I thought I'll just change the heel. If I make socks for other people, either for gifts or if someone's ordered a pair of socks, I will do the sort of fancier heel, but for myself I don't mind it not being too fancy because no one sees it anyway on my feet because I always have shoes on. The next thing I made is one of the zippy pouches. So this is the crocheted cover on a pouch. I made this to give to a friend of mine because I was giving her a few bits and bobs to do with knitting and I thought it'd be nice to have something to put it in, so I made her a little zippy pouch, and I have it on good authority that she did like it. Oh, well, the contents at least. She didn't mention the pouch itself, but I assumed she liked it. I also made a load of earrings for my Etsy shop. These are stud earrings but with a dangly skull on them. If you do want a pair of earrings like this, check out the Etsy page and you can buy a pair for yourself. The next thing I made was a sock. I made a lot of socks in April actually. I think I made 4 altogether. So I have a lot more socks added into my collection. This again I did with the knit all on the heel rather than doing the fancy one. It fits lovely and it's still comfy. The sort of the texture on the heel doesn't make any massive difference, so I'm quite happy with it. This colourway is 13th Doctor. If you know me in real life, you'll know that I love Doctor Who, so I love a good Doctor Who reference. The next thing I made was this bag. Now, it surprisingly didn't take very long to make it. I have made a couple of posts about it on my Instagram and things, and I got the idea because I saw a picture on Pinterest of a similar bag, not with the same sort of granny squares, but using granny squares. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, I think I can figure out how that's constructed. So I had a go, made a load of granny squares, sewed them together, and it worked really well. So I put a lining into it using actually this material that I've got underneath the book on my desk, because this is sort of spare in my stock at the moment because I've used it for several things. It's not big enough to do anything big with, but it's great for lining bags. And with the bag, what I've done is put, you can't see them very well in this picture, I'll put a better picture on the video here. I've put these clips on so that I can add a strap, and I've done that because I want to have a removable strap on it. At the moment, the strap that I'm using is the one that I have for most of my handbags, but I also want to make straps specifically for this bag. I'm just waiting for the materials to arrive. I made this using yarn that I'm trying to use up in my yarn stash, and it didn't actually use up an awful lot of the yarn, so I could probably make another bag in these colours, but maybe with the colours flipped because there's not as much of the green as there is of the lilac-y, purpley, pinky colour. Also on the inside of this I put magnet closures to keep the bag closed, just in case I've got a lot of stuff in. I don't want it to sort of hang open. I will probably start making these bags to add to the Etsy shop, but I might do them as commission only, because if I end up with loads of bags that all look the same or similar, I'm probably not going to use them, and I don't want to sort of have lots of bags hanging around the place if I'm not actually using them. And so the next thing that I made was another bag, same sort of construction but using a different yarn. This one is slightly bigger than the other one because the yarn that I've used is a thicker yarn. Again, went really well. It's fully lined and it's got the clips on it as well, and I am keeping this bag for myself, but it worked out really well. As you can see on this page, I've got this, basically, I was trying to work out the pattern for it, because when I did the first bag, I actually only thought it was that sort of construction, but as I was putting it together, without realizing, I did it like that, and then I've sewn it up correctly. So when I was trying to work out where to place the different colours of the squares on this one, I was confused because there weren't enough squares. So on the first one I happened to get it right, and then the second one I figured out how I got it right, even though I didn't mean to, if that makes sense. And the last thing that I made this month, which I finished this morning, is this sock, again from Soggy Kookaburra Yarns. Again, I've done the knit all on the heel, and it went really well. So I know at the beginning I said that I didn't make an awful lot this month, but actually looking back on it, I did make quite a lot. So if there's anything that you've seen in here that you would like and you want to buy from me, I have got an Etsy store, which I'll put my link tree in the description below. So if you want to find me on any of the socials or find my Etsy shop or whatnot, you can do that there. If there's anything that you've seen that you'd like and isn't listed on my Etsy shop, you can send me a message on Instagram or on Facebook or Twitter or anywhere that you can find me, really, and I will happily make something especially for you. Thank you for joining me for the 4th month of the year, and I can't wait to see what May will bring.